pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Including the correction from the regular meeting on February 23rd, 2026, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
Mr. President. For 1 second. Do we have a call to the public?
No, we do not. Thank you.
Items 5A through G, consent agenda items, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item 6A, personnel.
Mr. President.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? All right, let's call the vote by acclamation, please.
All those in favor of item 7A, I'm sorry, 6A, excuse me. All those in favor of 6A, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, that was fast. It is now 6:02 for item 7A. Mr. Hellbull.
Is on. Thank you, Mr. Boyle. There's two policy revisions. The first one is to the parking policy. We had a discrepancy between the student catalog and the policy. The student catalog imposed a $60 fine for parking without a permit, which was never previously approved by the board. So we're adding that in so we can have that, and we're going to make the replacement fee $60 in the first semester, $30 in the second semester since it's half as long. We changed the visitor parking policy because we don't actually have temporary passes for students. And the accompanying regulation will be changed because it's still referred to decals, and we don't use decals anymore. We have the hanging tags. The second one is for the workload for practical nursing instructors. All we're doing is changing the title of that one and making it the same as the associate degree instructors. That's it.
Okay, 7B, update on compensation, healthcare, and contracts.
Mr. President, you guys will be glad, even though we're going through this agenda relatively quickly, when you get to me, everything slows down. So you're welcome for that. So I'm a giver. One of the things that was on two different occasions, we talked about the sense of urgency to make sure that we're providing you enough information for you to make an informed decision in relationship to getting contracts out in a timely manner so that we can give the faculty and staff the 15 calendar days statute requires in order to get them back in time for us to be able to then know before the school year is over exactly what our staffing needs are. And you guys have been wonderful in helping kind of keep on that timeline. As Ms. President and I began looking at the healthcare renewal, I think it's going to take a little bit more time for us to be able to come back and give you a really informed recommendation. And so instead of having the action item at this agenda in which you're contemplating and potentially approving compensation increases and health care for next year, what we'd like to do is to push that off for 2 more weeks. And when we come back at the end of March, be able to have a much more comprehensive, thoughtful conversation with you about the recommendation since we've had more time to kind of really process it. There's a lot of nuances to the health care that I think warrants us making sure we're doing our due diligence and coming back to you in an informed manner. What this will allow us to still do, though, is to get contracts out at a reasonable time frame that allows us to still get to where we needed to be in terms of knowing better our staffing needs by the time we get to the latter part of April, first part of May. So this doesn't hinder us as much as it might present itself to be that extra 2 weeks. On top of that, had we been able to come to you and you had made decisions tonight, had an action item, and made decisions tonight, we would have generated contracts on the 16th of March that's the earliest we could. And most of our faculty and staff are still on spring break. And so in some ways, this will allow us to also be much more efficient once we issue the contracts. And so I didn't want you guys to believe that we didn't, or that we forgot the compensation conversation and contracts. We're just asking that it get pushed off for another 2 weeks. Mr. President, members of the Governing Board, this is the last of our presentations on retention. Dr. Doolin and her team have done a really good job kind of arcing out the conversation and showing not only the central campus, but the satellite campus, areas of success and also areas of improvement. And so tonight is Mesa Public Schools, and then we'll regather our data and begin presenting new sets of data in further meetings. So, Dr. Doolin.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Just wanted to give you an update on the data. As Dr. Wilson said, tonight is the last of the retention data. Next time we meet, we will be doing the certifications. We're going to do the certification data in 2 meetings, and then following that, we'll do, I think we had certifications, and then we were doing TSA. So just so that you are kind of aware of what's coming as far as the data is concerned. Okay, we're going to dive right in. I'm going to restate our goals. If you remember our retention goals, this is based on the 3-year cycle, 60% for EVIT Central, 30% for partnering districts. So tonight we are looking at the partnering district of Mesa Public Schools, and we'll just dive right in. This is the wrong one. It needs to be number 5. This is what happens when you have 5 or 6 of them. Wrong one. It's in the shared drive number 5. They all start off the same. That's the good news. That one, that's it. Thank you very much. Okay, so Mesa Public Schools. On the documentation, there was a total of 98 programs, 86 of the EVIT approved programs for the 24-25 school year. 7 of the approved programs either did not run or were in the first year and not included in the retention data. That is very similar that we've talked about in the past. 16 of the 79 programs included in the retention count met the retention goal. So Mesa historically has struggled with the retention. They have been actively working on increasing their retention. The 20% is actually better than it was last year. However, there is some work that still needs to be done. As we go through this, I will point out some of the schools that seem to be struggling and some of the schools that seem to be doing better with the retention piece. Okay, so we'll dive in. The first school is going to be Dobson. So this is, thank you for making it bigger. You can even make it bigger than that. Yeah, move it over. Okay, so this is Dobson's, and as you look through Dobson's, you are going to see, I believe, remember, orange is below, green is above. And as you look through Dobson, I believe they only have 1 program that is in the green, and that's their culinary arts, and it's right at 30.1. Go to the next page, it's the rest of Dobson's. It's the next page down, sorry. So you will see the trend continued at Dobson. Their next technology device maintenance was at 25%, but their welding, their sports medicine, and their software are all below as well. So this is one of the schools in Mesa Public Schools that seems to be struggling with meeting the retention goals. But again, these are higher than they were the previous year. Still not where we need them to be, but they seem to be trending in the right direction. If you go back one, sorry. sorry. Okay, so if you look at Dobson, you can see, like, if you look at the second one done, sports medicine, on that side part, you can see where it went from 18 to 25. Do you guys see where I'm talking about? And then one went from 0 to 23. That's what I'm talking about. For the most part, they're either staying the same or they're going in the right direction. Yes? Yeah, the far side.
Yes.
How do I say that? The orange side.
Yes.
Yes,
So the green one is
yes,
good.
yes. So, but when you look at the 3-year average, so I just wanted to point that out. That's how we know they're trending in the right direction versus going the other way. Okay, I wanted to point that out. Okay, next one. Okay, so this is, what school was this? Sorry, I can't see. Mesa. So this is Mesa High. Mesa High has several programs that didn't run. So I want to make sure you're paying attention to the yellow marks because those programs are not included in the data. And all of those programs that are yellowed were below. So, but those were programs that they didn't run in 2025. Some of them were approved and didn't run, and then some they were sunsetting. So they're just on the sheet until they sunset. Okay, can we go to the next one? Mesa High, when we get to this second page, you will see a lot of green. So their welding, technology device maintenance, stagecraft, and sports medicine are all doing really well. And if you look at the history of those, most of them have been in the green the entire time. So those programs are doing really well at Mesa High. Those are programs that we should probably lean into. If I was at Mesa, those would be some of the programs I'd be looking in. How are they getting these results versus what's happening at Dobson in these same programs? Okay, next one. And I believe if I do it right, it's Mountain View. Okay. So here we are at Mountain View. Mountain View also seems to be struggling, which is an interesting, I find it interesting when you really look at their numbers. You will see on that side that we have culinary arts at 12%, digital photography at 13%, education professions at 15%. It's really quite low. They're also in the orange for the most part on the right-hand side as well. But then when you look at their marketing is all green. Next page. The next page, we have those similar programs. Music and audio is a program that is just specific to Mountain View. That is the only place it is offered. I will say this was their first year. We didn't approve it the year before, but they did have kids in the first and second sequence, but they may have lost some in that second sequence as it wasn't approved before. So I wanted to point that out. And then we have the other 4, software app design at 5.8. It looks like they were just running the first year for 2 years, and that's really what's hitting the data on this one. And then sports medicines at 19%. But if you look over, you can see where it's gone from 16.7 to 16. It was kind of stagnant, and this last year was at 29. So it does seem to be going in the right direction. Same with technology device maintenance, tends to be trending in the right direction. And if you look at welding, the last 2 years have been in the green. So they are also trending in the correct direction. Okay, now on to Red Mountain. Red Mountain has more green, so we always like to see that. There are programs that over there, notice the yellow, those are ones that weren't running, that weren't approved this last year. So one to watch would be the film and TV production. It is at 8.2%, but again, I want to show you, if you look to the right, you can see it going up. One that it seems to be going down or doing some wonkiness is graphic design. It was up at 34, dropped to 22, and now is at 27 this last year. So that's an interesting one. But if you look at the very last one, marketing, it seems to be trending in the right direction as well. Next page. We have a lot of green on this page. So Red Mountain is doing a really good job with network security, software and app design, sports medicine, stagecraft, technology device maintenance, and their welding technologies. Their stagecraft is at 66.9%. That's pretty outstanding. Okay, moving on to the next one. Skyline. Okay. Please pay attention to the amount of yellow at Skyline. So Skyline had a lot of programs that either were not approved, and so they're sunsetting them, or they were approved, but they were in their first year. So the data is not counting against them. That's why it's yellow. So there's very few programs to really look at Skyline. So for example, let me give you one that's in the first year. If you look at engineering, there's 336 students in engineering. That's a lot of students, but we have no data for the second year because this is the first year that it ran. So I just wanted to point out some of those. Same with business operations. They had 350 students in the first year at business operations. This is part of their academy modeling, so that's why we have these large numbers in business operations, but it just hasn't come to fruition because this is the first year they've run that complete academy sequence there in that area. So I just wanted to point those out, that's interesting. We'll be able to see what's happening next year with that, but there's very little to look at Skyline. Digital photography, education professions, I think they only had sports medicine, and then welding technologies. There's not a whole lot to see there. Last but not least, Westwood. I do want to point out, look at the green on the far right. That also gives you a good idea of what's happening at Westwood. Westwood, you have 4 of them that either aren't running in their first year. If you look at their graphic design, 232 kids in the first year. Biomedical sciences, 230 in that first year. So again, we have a lot of kids that are in, that's the first year of that academy sequence. They are largely in the orange in the combined retention, but if you look over to the 2024 cohort retention, you can see where they were trending from. Okay, next page. These are those similar ones we've seen throughout Mesa: software, sports medicine, stagecraft, technology, device maintenance, and welding. Do you have any questions? Because Westwood's our last school. Yes. No, that's why there's a yellow mark next to it.
It also hasn't run for the past couple of years.
Correct. You can ask a question.
Count, and it looks like this past year, about 40 of the programs were in green versus 20 from the.
Yeah, so they're starting to go, it's that combined retention. So we anticipate in Mesa now with their academy model and their cohorting style that we will see a pretty big jump next year in a lot of these numbers.
Can you remind me what the academy program is? I mean, they got.
So they're cohorting students. Now, and if I don't say this exactly correctly, please forgive me. I am not a
You are
Mesa
forgiven in advance.
Mesa Public School representative. It's my understanding that each school has several academies everywhere except Mesa High. Mesa High stayed traditional, but the other high schools have academies, and so you are put into academy like business operations and you are cohorted, so you will take the first and second sequence, but you can also take CTE like marketing that relates to the business operations academy. Because of the way they did their block schedule, it opened up for students to be able to take more CTE courses.
This has been a fantastic walk through the data, so thank you for putting it all together. Dr. Wilson.
So I'd just like to echo what I think both you and Dr. Newland had indicated, that I give Mesa credit. One of the things that we've always said as we've worked with our member districts is that it's not necessarily where you're at, it's where we hope we can work together to grow to. And knowing where we're going to grow to requires us to know where we're at that moment. And I think Mesa is doing the work necessary And I think we're seeing the fruits of that labor, and I think we'll continue to see the fruits of that labor as we go down the road. And so seeing the data sometimes is uncomfortable, but really the magic is what are we going to do with that data? And I think we're starting to see artifacts out of NPS that they are going to start trending in the right direction, and I appreciate that.
Can I ask, I'm really good at really stupid questions, and so people can laugh. Are we going to be drawing some sort of inferences about whether students who come to our campuses do better than students who take these programs at the high schools that with whom we have these contracts, or not? And is that something we should even get into?
So I'll be honest with you, I think that is an interesting conversation. I think that the challenge with it is what does do better mean, right? Because I think depending upon the individual, do better might mean something different. I think there is a place for students to have the opportunity to experience a program without necessarily needing to complete it. Sometimes finding out what you don't want is as beneficial as finding out what you do want. So there needs to be that give in there that says we would never expect or want or believe that 100% of the students should be able to, or should be completing at the satellite level, right? But certainly it needs to be more than 30 or 40, whatever the percentage is now. And that's that area that we're kind of working through. What is a reasonable amount of success, do better at the satellite level that would give us cause to believe that it's actually producing what we want it to produce, not only outcomes in terms of workforce development, but outcomes in terms of students having the opportunity to experience something and realize that's not what they want. I think one of the things you'll see when Dr. Glynn starts talking about certifications is that one of the areas I think that it is worth discussing, both central and satellite, is what's the certification being offered? Because that's the currency to the leg up and the leg in. And so if we wind up having similar certifications, same certifications offered at the central campus and the satellite campus, then I think it does begin to level the conversation of what are those outcomes going to look like. And there may be a student that doesn't earn the certification. That doesn't mean that he or she still didn't have a valuable experience. But if we know the target is an outcome that is commensurate to what we expect at the central campus, then I think we're starting to talk apples to apples. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it also tells me a little bit about us being more forgiving about supplanting that may be occurring in the schools with the districts with whom we have contracts, rather than, supplanting such that students who come here who decide, I don't really want to be doing this or that, and then return to the high school are different, it seems to me, or maybe different than students who make those decisions attending one or two classes at Mesa High or Dobson or wherever.
Yeah, I think when you look at a comprehensive high school, I think you're going to wind up having so many more variables that you're going to have to navigate through that are variables that at some point in time are just going to be what they're going to be, right? And there's going to be the student that tries at the satellite level welding and realizes it isn't for them. That is a win in some ways, right? But there's also going to be a student potentially at the satellite level that gets placed into welding because that was the only schedule that was open for that student. Well, those are two very different situations, but how do you parse out what really happened in that case, right? Because we won't be able to get to the granular level of finding out why that student. And so I think in there is where we're going to have to show a bit of stewardship and a bit of grace and recognize that really what we should be saying is what is a reasonable amount of retention and completion, and how can we work year over year to improve that? And do we have the outcome expectation, meaning the certifications, that are the same, so that the student that does complete at the satellite level has the same currency that he or she would have had they completed here. We've said repeatedly that we recognize that there's no way that all 23,000 satellite students can ever have the flexibility in their master schedule to come to a central campus. So our goal, in my opinion, is to build capacity for us to be able to work with our member districts to create those opportunities that have the potential for the same outcomes, but also have some grace in recognizing that it's never going to be a complete product. It just can't be on a comprehensive high school campus.
But we may also, Dr. Wilson, have an obligation to know and to tell parents of kids who are signing up for programs at wherever that, if your kid's really wanting to do welding, he or she would do better to come to the main campus.
Depends on the certification. I mean, I hear you, it depends on the certification, and that's one of the areas that we're really working with our member districts. A student that can attend a satellite campus and they choose to double block it, well, like we've seen in some of our member districts, and the certifications they're offering are the same certifications that are being offered here, then as the superintendent of the CTED, I'm glad for that kid, because it might work better for him or her to stay there locally. Where I struggle is when we wind up having programs that don't have that same certification outcome. And then to the parent that says, you know, if your child is really interested in becoming a welder, really it's this set of certifications that will carry the currency, and those may or may not be offered at the satellite level. That kind of conversation, I think, does have to happen. To me, what I hope we do is work as a CTED to get to the point that the student can have the experience at the satellite level that is as quality and as commensurate in many ways as the central. That's the system we want to build, because we know there isn't the capacity for all the students to be served at the central campus.
And all of this we can only figure this out if we're doing the hard work that Dr. Doolin is doing, and I just want to commend you for
100%.
for that. I really, I don't mean to sound critical, because this is critical information that you're gathering and working up for us, and I do appreciate it. Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, well done.
Agreed, yes. Looking forward to certifications are up
Me too.
next. That'll be fun.
I think the certifications are going to be enlightening. So we'll be looking at two things. The certifications they're offering, because across the CTED, they're not equal.
Yeah.
It's not even about just being equal to what we're offering. We're going to see programs where across the CTED, they're all offering something different.
Yeah.
And those are some of those hard conversations that we're going to need to have and say, okay, what is the standard, and what's the one that carries with it the quality, so.
Definitely. All right, thank you. Okay, action item 8A, policy revision, second read, Mr. Kelbel.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. This is the one we presented at the last meeting regarding the management of capital reserves, which we updated in response to some of the Auditor General's requests. And if you have any substantive questions about it, I would direct them to Edith Perez.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a policy to accept the policy revision, second read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion, questions? Please call the vote by acclamation.
All those in favor of item 8A, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
Okay, for this next action item, just a reminder that the conversation is around student A. So in discussion, we just won't reveal any personally identifying information. Do we have a motion related to action item 8B?
I'll make a motion that we accept the hearing officer's recommendation for student A.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion or questions or follow-up around the motion?
C. You make it first.
Okay, hearing none. Please call the vote by acclamation.
All those in favor of item 8B, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. We're going to consider action items C and D together. So do we have a motion for both action items 8C and D?
Mr. President.
Also move.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, routinely what we do is we go through our evaluation instruments and actually creating an instrument that fits the staff member that's being evaluated. And one of the things that we realized is that the instrument that we were using for these two areas was the traditional instructor evaluation, and these two roles are uniquely different. So both of these are adjusting the evaluation instrument to be more reflective of what their roles and responsibilities are.
Thank you. Is there any further conversation or discussion around 8C and D? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for a vote, please, by acclamation.
All those in favor of item 8C and D, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, and that moves us to 9A, call for executive session. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Thank
We'll
you.
go
Is there a
executive
second?
session.
I'll second.
All right, please call the vote by acclamation.
All those in favor of item 9A, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries.
Great.
We can just stay here if that's okay with you. We'll
Sounds-
get the technology turned off and turned down, and then we're
can follow them. I'm leaving them all here.
Okay,
Everything.
we do not have an action item 10A, and we'll move to 11A, staff reports. Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, today was the first day of spring break for the vast majority of our faculty
And
and
you
staff.
spent it with us.
Yes, I could not think of a better way to spring break. And so the next 2 weeks will be a great opportunity for us, those of us that are on a certain calendar, to get caught up at work. But it's always nice that we have the opportunity in education to give kind of that break during the right before we start up the last quarter. As you know, the last quarter is going to get, goes by like a blink of an eye, and so I appreciate those of you that have reached out and communicated to Tammy, those of you that want to attend the consortium, those of you that are going to go to State of the City. Obviously, we have the completion ceremony that's going to be coming in the next, 9 weeks, so there's a lot that's coming your way, but at least for the next 2 weeks, things will be relatively calm here as we're, for the most part, on spring break.
Is Mesa not on spring break?
Next week.
Next week?
Next week, we only have 1 week.
Just 1 week? I know, I saw today, I saw the same thing, so they're, but I think everybody else is. I think it's just Mesa's not, I think,
Yeah, there's probably another one somewhere.
somewhere.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy your break, everybody on the team. So 12A calendar closing, next meeting scheduled for Monday, March 23rd. Any recommended agenda items from anyone other than what we've already discussed? Great. Moving to 12B, adjournment. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
He allowed, for the record.
Do we have we do have a second? All right, please call the vote by acclamation.
All those who want to leave, please say aye. Aye. All those who want to stay, please say nay. Motion carries to leave.
7:01.